Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out the GitGud Course. Instead of just understanding concepts, you'll learn how to implement them directly into your driving. What makes it effective is the approach and practical drills. Together, we're gonna focus on breaking down those complex concepts into small digestible bits that are simple to understand. Everything from the course was tested and refined during the years in coaching sessions, so what I ended up with was the ones that I saw were the most effective. Let's elevate your racing skills together. Now for the track guide. Before starting, if you enjoyed this video, giving it a like and a subscribe is a free way to support the channel as I can continue to create more content like this. Now going into the track guide itself, turn 1 can easily be a make or break in the lap. You want to carry as much speed as you can. So what I'm doing, the first thing is to mount this blue and white curb. You want to be on top of it, almost touching the grass, and you can barely hit here the dirt and the grass and still won't be an off track, and even at turn in, the car will still be balanced. So use as much as you can. Now in terms of the braking and the turning itself, I'm looking at the 50, but I'm braking almost in the middle of 150. So slightly past the 100, looking at the 50, I'm starting to apply the brakes and I immediately look into the apex on the right side because I want to still be on the brakes up until I reach the corners, and I'm not downshifting. I'm using the fixed setup, but my brake bias is a bit towards the rears, but here, when I'm applying the brakes, notice that initially I'm braking almost in a straight line, but immediately I start to turn, so it feels like almost braking and turning at the same time. And while going into the corners, super important to maintain the brakes up until you hit the inside curb. So still on the brake, still braking, still on the brakes. And as I'm dropping the brakes more and more, I'm applying more steering wheel angle. So the more you release the brakes, the more grip you will have for the actual turn in. So this is exactly what I'm doing. Right now I'm turning more and more and more up until I hit the curb where I have the maximum amount of steering angle. And at this point I'm hitting the throttle. And this is important. You want to hit the throttle ideally even before you hit the curb. But if you find yourself going on throttle past this inside curb, then you're losing a lot of time here. You want to hit it slightly afterwards. And then in terms of the actual track usage, you can get away with putting these 2 tires on the tarmac. So you see, most of the car is on the blue and white. If you put your left tires on this tarmac right here, just for a brief moment, then it won't be an off track. And this is what you're aiming for, using all the track, being early on power, trail braking through the apex, and then immediately turn the car to the right side, because you can get an off track if you stay too much here. So pointing the car nice and early. And now we're heading towards turn 2. For turn 2, it's better to brake a bit earlier. So I'm braking before this exit road on the left side. At this point in time, I'm braking quite hard initially, so picking around 80%, brake in a straight line, focus to keep the steering wheel straight. And the most important thing here in this corner and the next one is to avoid wheel spin from the rear tires, because we have a long straight afterwards and we want to prioritize that straight. And we do that by keeping the rear tires in optimal temperature range, because the rear tires is where your thrust forward comes from. So if you cook your tires, you will have the car will accelerate out of the corner at a slower pace. So braking in a straight line, downshifting to third, and now I'm delaying the moment where I'm downshifting to second, because if I will do the downshift here, the car will start sliding from the rears. We give too much brakes to the rear tires because we had the engine braking, and the engine braking is going mostly to the rear tires. So I'm avoiding it and I'm delaying it to this point in time. And then whenever I'm putting the throttle input here, I'm patient. I'm just building it up, building it up, building it up, building it up, and then 100. Don't smash it here, because if you will slide too much, then the next corner is going to be difficult. In terms of the line, you want to touch and hit and cut this curb towards the left side, and the car will get pushed all the way to this curb, which is fine. And now it's just a big straight. And for the hairpin, my reference for braking is this green patch around here. I want to brake slightly before it. So just a moment. Let's let's go a bit backwards. At this point in time, you see I'm already on the brakes, so slightly before this green part, and you want to brake very hard, and the common mistake here will be to drop the brakes quickly. No, you just want to stay on the threshold braking as much as you can. So what I'm doing, I'm going to 100, then dropping it a bit, but still maintaining around 90. You see, still maintaining, and then whenever I'm very close to the apex and whenever I'm downshifting to second, quite late, then I'm turning more and more and I'm bleeding the brakes. Immediately put the power down. We need a good traction out of this corner, so if you will have a gap in your inputs here, you will lose a lot of time. No gap in the inputs, just push the throttle very hard, and now we're going towards this corner, which is flat, but this was a mistake from my part. If you will apex this early, meaning if you will touch the beginning of this curve like this, you will go very wide on the exit. So delay your turning point, turn a bit later, because the next corner is going to be easier. If you will turn later for this corner, ideally you won't reach this curve. You will be a bit more towards the right, and then the next corner is going to be easier, because look right now, I have to just go diagonally towards the next corner, which is going to make it harder, because right now I'm going diagonally, and whenever this curve on the right side ends with this white spot here, now when I'm applying the brakes, I'm trying to align my car because the entry was quite difficult. You can make it easier for yourself if you just apex later in the previous corner. And what I'm doing here, usually, it's not the perfect line, but it's close to the perfect line. I'm going a bit later on throttle. I'm just shooting the car deep into the corner, so in second gear here, third, second after the apex, and I'm pushing the throttle at this point, very late into the corner. I'm carrying the speed, because for the next corner you can't take it flat. So if the next corner would have been a flat corner, then you should have been earlier on throttle, but because this is a corner where we're gonna do a lift in the next one, then if you shoot the car deep into the corner, you can get away with it. Now, pointing the car all the way towards the left side, hitting and almost cutting the grass here, because we want to open up the next one as much as possible, turning, and whenever we're approaching it, like right now, we're doing just a lift, putting the tire on the blue and white, don't go on the green, and then pick the throttle back up. The car will slide a bit, but that's fine. Don't drop the throttle to zero, because you will lose a lot of time. Now for the next corner, a reference for braking is going to be tough here. So I'm doing it mostly on feel. I'm trying to approximate the distance to the next corner. I'm braking, and then I want to go to third gear before arriving at the apex. So now in third gear, still trailing, still on the brakes, up until I hit this curb. And the moment that I mount it, then I'm going back on throttle, and I slightly mount it like this. It's important here to not go all the way towards the left side. There's not much to gain by carrying that speed, because the car will be unbalanced, and you will scrub a bit of speed. So in my opinion, the better line is to stay on the blue and white. This gives the car a bit more stability, and it's also easy to align with the next corner, because you have enough time to reposition. Braking at the 50, braking in a straight line initially, but then turning more and more. I want to go to second gear, but don't do it early. Do it later, after you turned, like right now, whenever you did most of the turning with the steering wheel, now you can downshift to second, like right now, because the car will be balanced. If you will time the moment of turning initially with a downshift, then you will get a bit too much rotation. So managing the neutral balance is key. Pushing the throttle, and now going into the next corner. This is going to be flat, this is flat, and for the next one, what I'm doing is this. I want to push the car close to the edge of the track. I'm doing it here a bit more safer, but if you will push more, you'll brake a bit later so that the car will reach this white line. The moment that you reach it, you have to turn and still trail brake. You're looking at this curb on the right side. You want to get close with it, to it like this, while still being on the brakes. And afterwards, you just want to push the throttle just to make sure the car gets all the way to this red sausage curb. The moment that you arrive at it, that's the moment that you will drop the throttle, add a bit of brakes if needed at this point. If not, you can coast, but it's better to drop the throttle later and just add a bit of brakes. And then while cutting this green part of the curb, push the throttle back again. And in short, that's a lap around Hockenheim with the BMW GT4. It will work for all the GT4s to some extent. But this is it. This is my track guide. I hope you have a nice week around here. And if you want to improve at a quicker pace, you can check out the course. It's in the video description. I'm looking forward to see you in the next video. Bye bye.